In a time beyond memory, nestled by the life-giving waters of the Niger River, lay the village of horizons. Life flowed there with the rhythm of the river. And in this village lived a young girl named Adaeze, with her father Uzoma the blacksmith. Her mother died giving birth to her, and Uzoma raised his daughter with both a mother's tenderness and a father's strength. Adaeze's gift revealed itself one morning when she was just 10. As she fetched water for her father, she saw a fledgling bird that had fallen and hurt its leg. Feeling pity, she began to hum lullabies from her heart. At that moment, a miraculous thing happened. The wounded bird calmed down, and other birds gathered around Adaeze, accompanying her melodies. This event was met with astonishment in the village. As she grew older, Adaeze's talent became legendary. When she sang, time in the village seemed to stand still. They called her the Golden Throat. The songs she sang during the harvest took away the workers' fatigue. The praises she sang at weddings cemented loves. The elegies she sang at funerals eased the pain. The village's wise old woman, Nenika, would say to Uzoma each time, "This gift is great, Uzoma. Great gifts bring great responsibilities. We must keep our girl's heart as beautiful as her voice." But the constant praise slowly turned into a poison of pride in Adaeze's young heart. She began to see singing not as a service, but as a privilege. She thought, without my voice, this village's celebrations would be pale and colorless. She secretly laughed at the other girls who dealt with simple tasks, considering herself superior to them. In the village, on every full moon, a great fire was lit, and Nenika would tell the young people the stories of the ancestors, the language of the animals, and the secrets of the stars. These gatherings were vital for the village's memory and the education of the youth. One full moon night, Nenika began to tell a deep story about the patience of the earth. Right at the most crucial point, Adaeze stood up and said loudly, "Nenika, these stories are so boring. Let me offer you real beauty, a real feast. Allow me to sing my song." The poetry of the sky. A deep silence fell. Even the crackling of the fire could be heard. The wise expression on Nenika's face turned into a deep sadness. Uzoma called out, "Adaeze, quiet." But it was too late. Nenika rose slowly. Her eyes seemed to pierce the darkness behind Adaeze. Her voice, despite her age, was powerful and impressive. "Adaeze, your voice was a gift, but you have turned it into a tool of pride. You scorned the patience of the earth and insulted the wisdom of the ancestors. If your voice is so precious, then use it only for yourself. From now on, let your songs reach only your own ears. Let the outside world be deprived of your golden throat, until you hear the melody of silences and see the mirror of your own pride in another's heart and succeed in cleansing it. Then perhaps you will understand its true value." With Nenika's last word, Adaeze felt a strange tightness in her throat. She opened her mouth and screamed, but no sound came out, only an empty, eerie silence. Her eyes were wide with fear. The villagers murmured in shock and sorrow. Adaeze, ashamed and afraid, ran away from there. She shut herself in her hut for days. Her world had darkened. Her father Uzoma was worried for her. But Nenika said, "This is her journey, Uzoma. We cannot interfere. She will either transform or drown in her pride." One morning, Adaeze thought about Nenika's words, melody of silence, and the burden of pride. She had to find out what they meant. With a gesture, she told her father she would leave the village. Uzoma, in tears, prepared a bag for his daughter. Inside was food, water, and a small cast-iron protective figurine. Adaeze's journey was painful. Her first stop was the whispering forest. There, she listened to the sounds made by the trees and the wind. Days spent without hearing any human voice forced her to listen. One day, she saw a little girl who was lost in the forest. Before, she would have sung a song to calm her. Now the only thing she could do was to approach her silently, take her hand, and lead her back to her village with a reassuring smile. The grateful looks of the girl's family gave Adaeze a feeling very different, much warmer than the applause she received when she sang. Her second stop was the scorching desert. Here, thirst and loneliness broke her down further. There was only the endless dance of the sand dunes and the wind. One afternoon, her feet caught on an obstacle. Bending down, she found a black stone flute buried in the ground, with intricate spiral patterns on it. She dug out the flute and cleaned its dust. The patterns on it resembled the oldest motifs in her village. She felt this was a sign. After months of travel, she reached the Red Earth village. This village was famous for its pottery. As she arrived at the village square, she saw a young man surrounded by everyone. Chijioke. Chijioke made incredibly beautiful pots, but he did not sell them, only displayed them in his own house. When a woman wanted to buy a pot to get medicine for her sick daughter, Chijioke laughed arrogantly. "You cannot understand the value of my art. Don't speak to me of your money and your sick daughter." Adaeze saw this scene and felt her heart beat rapidly. In Chijioke's pride, she saw the reflection of her own past self, the same pride, the same arrogance. This was the person carrying the burden of pride. The next day, Adaeze went to Chijioke's hut. In her hand was the stone flute she had found in the desert. Chijioke saw her and asked in a mocking manner, "Who are you? Do you have no voice, or what?" Adaeze wrote on the ground with a stick, "My name is Adaeze. I have no voice. Like you, I could once create things." Then she showed the stone flute. "This flute is beautiful, isn't it? But if no melody comes out of it, it's just a beautiful object. Your pots are the same. If they don't hold water, if they don't cook food, they just remain as decorations collecting dust." Chijioke was shocked by these words. No one had ever challenged him so honestly. Adaeze went even further. Without asking Chijioke's permission, she entered his workshop and took the most beautiful, most intricately patterned pot. Chijioke was about to shout in anger, but what Adaeze did froze him. She took the pot to the village well, filled it with water, and distributed water in turn to the elderly, the children, everyone who was thirsty. Chijioke watched, stunned, as his creation, which he had made only for himself for years, gave life to people, how it created gratitude and joy. He felt a glacier of ice melting in his heart. His eyes filled with tears. He turned to Adaeze, and for the first time in years, said sincerely, "Thank you." At that moment, a wind blew, and grains of sand from the desert hit the dried gourds on the roof of Chijioke's workshop, creating tinkling sounds. As the wind intensified, these tinkling sounds turned into a fascinating natural melody. Adaeze listened intently. This was the melody of silence that Nika had mentioned, the symphony played by nature after a humble act. That night, Adaeze dreamed of Nenka. The wise woman, in a young and beautiful form, was shining brightly. "My daughter," she said, "you saw the mirror of pride and cleansed it with love. You heard the deepest melody of silence. Now your voice can belong not only to you, but to everyone, because you have learned its true purpose. Your gift is returned to you. Use it wisely." Adaeze woke up. She felt a slight tingling in her throat. Slowly, as if whispering, she said, "Father." Her voice was in the room. She burst into tears. Her voice was more beautiful than before. It retained its youthful freshness, but gained a maturity that added depth and warmth to it. Her return to her home, the village of horizons, was not like a victory parade, but like a journey of repentance. At the entrance of the village, her father Uzoma and the wise Nenka were waiting for her. Adaeze was about to prostrate herself at Nenka's feet, But the old woman hugged her. Rise, my daughter. There is nothing to apologize for. There is a lesson learned. Chijioke had come with her. He was no longer an arrogant artist, but the village potter. Adaeze began to sing again, but her songs were different now. They told Nenka's stories, the heroisms of the people she met on her journey, the beauties of nature. While she sang, Chijioke would also make pots, and when Adaeze finished, the patterns telling that day's story would appear on the pot. Years passed. Adaeze and Chijioke married. Adaeze became one of the wisest storytellers in Africa. The nickname Golden Throat faded into history, and she was instead called the Storyteller of the Heart. The most important lesson she taught was this: the greatest treasure is not an external gift, but an internal transformation, and true beauty emerges only when the shadow of pride is lifted.